Hello. Today's video I want to have a look at ways of avoiding wasting paper and foil and getting frustrated when you're hot foiling. So I've sorted out some pattern papers. I've got two here that work quite nicely together, and I've got these two I'd like to use together, and I've got these. Okay, I've also got some white card and some card blanks to have a look at different examples. And I'm going to be working with Spellbinders hot foil plate set, Little Birdie, because it says a little birdie told me, and then you get a set of sentiments with it, and one of them's it's your birthday. I think the other one's you're amazing, or it's time to celebrate. There's a few of them that come with it, and it also comes with a bird hot foil plate and coordinating die, so you can cut the bird out and layer it on top. Okay, and you get this kind of wreath die or sort of floral frame. So, and I've got some normal cutting dies as well, and an alternative sentiment. So just a few bits and pieces I've sorted out, so I don't have to go rummaging in my folders halfway through making a video. And I've got some foils. I like Gemini multi-surface foils if I can't get Couture Creations ones, so that's what I'm working with. But you know, whichever foil you work with, that's fine. So there's several aspects to this, and I've moved my camera around, not so it's looking at my craft map, but so it looks at my GoPress and foil. So one of the things that frustrates people is getting things in the place they want them. First time, without them sort of trying it and it coming out wonky. And if you're working with a nice pattern paper like this, you probably haven't got lots of sheets of it to do trial and error to get the foil stamp in the right place. So one of the things I do is I use a magnet from a stamp press. Now, a stamping platform, you know, one with a hinged lid and magnets that hold the card down in place for you. So mine are stuck together, bear with me. So some stamp platforms come with this sort that are in a holder these days. Yeah, that's really convenient because you've got the handle here on the magnet to be able to pick it up by. So those are really useful. If you've got that sort of stamping platform, or you can get some of those, I think they sell them on Amazon, those are really useful. Or if you've just got a normal flat magnet, get a large piece of masking tape or washi tape and wrap the magnet up in it so you've got handles to pick it up by. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to foil this hot foil stamp, no cutting edges, it's just a foil stamp, onto my piece of pattern paper. And I've got to decide kind of where I want it, which way round I want it. I don't really want the flowers to look upside down, so I'm going to kind of do it like that. And I want to get it in the middle because I want to put sentiments sort of above it and below it. So it needs to go in the middle. And I could measure, but I'm actually just going to do it by eye. Okay, so I'm just lining it up, and then I'm going to take my stamp press magnet here and I'm going to put it on the back, and then it holds my foil stamp in place. Now if you've got a really big foil stamp, you might want to use a second magnet. Okay, so I can put more than one on, and then it's really securely held. So after I put my magnets on, I can adjust it a bit if I want to. Move it around a little bit, there. And have a good look and make sure it's exactly where you want it. Okay, so that's one way you avoid waste, because this is positioned where I want it, but it's on the paper and I need it on my foil press. Okay, so one method is that you create a hinge with some tape and you push your foil underneath. Yeah, that's one way. I always worry about peeling the tape off again. I do use that method sometimes because sometimes it is the best way to do it, but this hasn't really got any straight edges, and I think I might still end up with it wonky. So what I actually do is this. So I open my foiling platform. Now it doesn't have to be a GoPress foil to do this. It can be a Glimmer or a Gemini foil press. And you've got your hot bit in the middle. I'm not going to touch it for long, but that's hot. And then round the outside, on all of them, you've got some sort of plastics around that might get a little bit warm, but it doesn't really get hot. It's the bit you handle the thing by. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down on here. Now I'm going to line this up with the bottom edge, and there's a slight lip there. So that goes there. Then I've got some good quality masking tape. It's good quality in that it's for delicate surfaces, so it's designed to be used on fresh paintwork by decorators who don't want to peel off their lovely paint job that they've just done when they need to mask off so they can do something else. So I'm going to put a piece of tape along that edge there. Okay, and having taped it down, I'm then going to take my magnets off. I'm just going to hold down my foil stamp through my paper and slide my magnet off, and the other one. Okay, and then I'm going to use this as a hinge and just flip this out the way so that my paper doesn't warm up while I'm heating my foil stamp. Okay, so while I'm waiting, I'm going to cut my foil. How big does it need to be? Now, I'm going to be cutting it out with this die. No, but I know it fits in this die. I'm not going to cut it out on this card, but I am on one of the others. And I'm just going to use a straight edge just to give me an indication where to cut. You probably can't see what I'm doing, but I showed how I measure foil on other videos. Right, so let's cut just in a second. Okay, now this is going to be a bit big, but I'm going to... Now, I don't want lots of extra foil because that could give me overfoiling on my paper. So I'm just going to lean over here and just adjust my foil size and trim it. So I want it there. Where's the other edge? The other edge is there. So yes, I'm a bit big. Right, so I'm going to take that bit off first. And then I'm going to put it back on where the bottom edge is. Have a bit of leeway. Cut that bit off. This is all preparation so that my foiling works correctly first time. So then I want to find the corners where they need to come. Okay, so the little corners come off that one. And then the others I've marked with a crease. It's important when you do this that you get your foil the right way up. Okay, so that's my foil. Okay, now I probably am going to want a card shim. And I keep my card shims and reuse them. So I've got a packet of them. And I'm just going to use, I think to start with, I'm just going to use one single layer. Okay, you may well know your machine better, and also, obviously it depends on what foil you're using, and what foil stamps and all that sort of thing. So there are no hard and fast rules about how many shims. Right, so there's that. So I can now flap that back down, and that stayed in exactly the same place. And then I put my card shim on, and now I'm going to roll it. I can feel when I've gone past where the foil stamp is. I'm going to come back the other way because I haven't got much space behind my die cutting machine to pull the platform out. There. So I'm going to take my shim off. Now leave this tape stuck down for a minute. Flip it back over and just have a look to see if it's foiled really nicely. It's looking okay on that edge. Doesn't always foil the same all the way over. In this case it has. Okay, but if I've got any bits missing, I can just flap this back down, add another shim and roll it again. Okay, as it happens I don't need to. So that way I don't have to pile on the shims to start with to make sure I've got my foil and then find it's over foiled. I can try one, and then if one's not enough, I can try two. And in fact, I'm just trying to decide, because obviously I'm looking at this at a funny angle. Now I don't think that has quite, so I'm going to put it back down, and I'm going to use a double layer shim. There's just one or two spots amongst the flowers where I think it's not quite. So there we are. I'm going to roll again. I'm slowing down when I've got to feel where it's got to the foil stamp. Okay, and then I can flip it up and go, yep, that's better. Yep, it was just not quite. So now I'm going to very carefully peel the tape off my GoPress foil. Okay, I'll leave that for a moment, and then I'm going to take that off of there. Right, so let's so I'm going to peel my foil off, and there's my foiling. So you know, I hadn't got the shims right to start with, but I haven't wasted my paper and I haven't wasted my foil. Okay, now when you're taking the tape off the back, what I suggest you do is turn it over. I'm just going to move the camera a little bit. Focus on that, there we are. Okay, let me turn it around that way. I think that you'll see it best. Okay, so turn it over. I'm going to just press my tape down onto my glass mat, and then I'm going to actually peel the tape from this edge that's most on the card. Okay, so rather than peeling from that edge, where I'm coming against the raw edge of my lovely pattern paper, I'm going to peel my tape from this edge. And you're less likely, it's not guaranteed, but less likely start tearing your card if you do it that way, because you're not pulling the tape against the raw edge. I'm being quite careful for that to come away nicely. And I can reuse the piece of tape for the next bit. Okay, so I haven't even wasted the tape. So there we are. There's my foiling. Okay, So I want my sentiment, a little birdie told me, to go along the top here. Okay, now you can imagine trying to get that lined up straight and getting it to work, making sure that didn't move, could be quite difficult. So again, I'm going to use my stamp press magnet, but I'm going to use 2 because it's a long, thin sentiment, and chances are if I put my magnet in the middle, when I'm trying to pull my magnet off, there's a good chance it will twist and end up wonky. Okay, or I could decide that wonky is the best way to go and make it very wonky and make it an, you know, part of the artistic style of the card, but I'm going to go for straight. So I've got one magnet on the back. Okay, I'm going to move that along to one end. I'm going to get one of my other magnets and put that at the other end, and then I'm going to get this straight. Now one of the other ways to get things straight, if you can get hold of one, doesn't matter which brand, lots of brands do these, but this is kind of a crafting ruler. It's actually got a metal edge in here, so that if you're using something like a rotary cutter, it doesn't damage the ruler, but it's got a square grid printed on it. Okay, so that means I can put this down and line up the lines at the edge of my paper, and use it to make sure my sentiment actually is level. It's a bit difficult if you've got ones that go down underneath. You might just have to use part of them, or you might have to kind of hold it over the top and check. But if I line it up so I've got, let's say, the straight lines there, then I can be sure that I've got that level. I think I want it a little bit lower, in fact. Let me bring it down a little bit, make sure my magnets are moved as well. So you can see where I've got my magnets on the back. I'm just going to move that one down a little bit. Okay. Let's move that there. That's it. So it comes nicely through that green leaf. That's it. And then let's make sure that's straight. That looks straight. And then I can press it against the edge of the ruler. So I'm not measuring as such, I'm just using it as a guide. So now I've got that on there. So again, I can go back to my GoPress and foil. So I'm going to turn it round that way. So I've got this space here where the tape hinge is going to be. Okay, it's going to end up sticking out the side of my GoPress and foil. But because I've got a nice wide A4 die cutting machine, it doesn't matter. So let's put this in here. Well, it might not stick out. Well, it's not going to stick out much. There we are. So I can put that down there. I'm going to put my piece of tape on. So my paper can't move. I'm going to hold down my sentiment with my finger. Yeah, hold it down there. Pull my magnets off one at a time. Still holding it down so it can't move. That's it. Flip my paper back out of the way. And I've got a piece of foil here that I trimmed off. Just right for doing that. Okay, so it's probably a little bit wide in places. I'm just going to check it for length. Don't think I need it quite that long. So again, I've put a fold where I need to cut it. I can trim it off. It won't have taken long to warm up. So now, Spellbinders sentiments, when they're very fine ones like this, I find you really don't need much pressure. So I'm not going to put any shims in and see if it works. Okay, so my foil's on, my card's down, and I'm going to roll. Okay, so again, I can leave it taped. I can start peeling my foil. No, that hasn't foiled properly. Okay, so I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put one shim on. I'm going to wait for it to come back to temperature because the red light is flashing, which means it's heating up. There we are, it's gone green. Flip it back again. There we are. And that is forward lovely now. So it didn't take as much pressure as the bit in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to peel my tape off of the GoPress Foil, off of that surround. And let's put that down on the desk for a minute. Take this off. Right, let's get, I've got lots of bits of foil here, so we just have a quick tidy. Right, so again, I'm going to peel from this edge . So I'm going away from the raw edge. So there I have that. Okay. And then I think It's Your Birthday, I think it's going to get lost if I actually do it on the same colour. So I'm going to do that on some white card. So I've got some bits of card basically left over from making my card blanks. So I'm going to cut one of these off. And so I know which is my straight end, I cut the other end at a definite angle so I know which way is crooked. So I just need to get this and a piece of foil, and again I've got my bits that I trimmed off that I can take a piece from, or I could cut a piece out the middle of that, but I'm probably going to use that for my bird. So let's get that in place. Now, even though I'm doing this on a huge piece of card, I'm still going to use my stamp press magnets, and I want to put it towards the crooked end. Okay, so I'm lined up like that. I don't want the piece of foil in there, do I? No. Okay, so just that, and magnet on the back, and my magnets have stuck themselves together around my other pieces of card. Right, let's use the pink one. So I'm sure one is quite sufficient for this. It won't matter if it ends up a little bit wonky. Okay, this is just so that if I don't get my shims right, I can put my card back down and roll again. So again, onto here, onto here. I think that piece of tape's a bit big, so let's have a smaller piece. Tape it onto one of the bits that doesn't get very hot. Slide the magnet off. Move the card out of the way. I'm going to give it just a moment to warm up. Really doesn't need very long, it's a tiny little sentiment. There we are. My little piece of foil. Now again, I'm not going to put any shims in. I'm going to let it come to temperature though. Okay, so let's flip it up and peel the foil. Yes, that's foiled. It's such a tiny little sentiment. Now, when you're picking up small things with these, if you're not careful, they kind of go through. So close it really tight, let it pick up, and then go and put it. I'm going to show you. Put it flat on whatever you're putting it down on, and then release. And that way it can't kind of flip and end up stuck through the hole. Ooh. So there's my little sentiment. So I'm going to cut that out to go on the card. And again, my tape, peel it from the bit that's on the card towards the edge. Okay, so that's the bits for the first card. Oh, I need the bird. Bird, okay. So, yes, a piece of this will do for foiling the bird, and I've got another piece of this. I think that's it. Yes, that's plenty big enough for the bird. So I'm just going to do my bird on white card. And I'm just going to trim my foil. Doesn't matter too much because the bird is going to be die cut. Okay, so let's figure out which bit of card I want the bird on. Let's put bird there. So again, I always use my magnet, even if it's not critical. Even if it's not critical exactly where that is, doesn't matter, you know, quite what direction it faces, because it's going to be cut out. But it's something I always do, because then I know exactly where that's going to be. I'm not going to find I'm a fraction too close to the edge or anything like that. So I put my tape on, magnet off, flip the card. That needs to warm up. There we go. By the time I've got my foil and everything on, that should be warm enough. If it's not, I can always roll it again. So let's put the foil on, put the card down. I'm going to put a shim on this time. Again, I'm guessing. I haven't done a trial run, but that's on. So again, I'm going to lift this, have a look at my foiling. I mean, even if I was really close to the edge there with my foil, I don't know if that shows on the camera, but I've nearly missed. I've nearly put the foil down in the wrong place. So if I'd done that, I could get another piece of foil and roll it through again. Has that forward properly? Yep, I think that has. Do you know something? It hasn't. So I'm going to cut another small piece of foil. It's just got a few bits missing here. I know you probably can't see them on the camera, and I can't lift it off to show you because that would defeat the whole point of having it taped down. I don't know if the camera's focusing on that properly. There we are. So I'm going to another piece of foil, put that down, put that down. I'm going to use a double shim this time. So that's a double layer of card. That's better. So I've used one extra piece of foil, but I haven't wasted my card. Peel it off. And then I will need to die cut the bird. So let's peel this tape off. Now, that's it. Always remember, with the tape, let me try and get that way you can see it. Can I zoom in on that at all? There. So always peel from the bit that's on the card towards the edge of the card. And you'll least likely then tear your card. I am using a really good quality masking tape. It's Frog tape, the yellow one for delicate surfaces. And I usually buy it on Amazon. I'm in the UK. If you can't get it where you are, 3M do similar products for painters and decorators. So, you know, you'll find there's something available. So let's Near my piece of tape now. I'm going to tear this in half. Now I'm taping the die to the waste, so I'm in no danger of spoiling my foiling. And there is my bird. Let me bring my camera back to 1 to 1. There, okay. So let's see how this will all come together. Now I always say to people, if you've had dies taped down, untape them as soon as you've finished, because otherwise there's a danger you'll accidentally throw them out with the scrap card. So I've got a nice little card here. Now just for quickness, I'm going to cut this with scissors. Don't normally do that. Because I don't normally trust myself not to do things wonky. I have. That's better. And go down the other side. It's not too bad considering I've done it by eye. It's not too bad. So if you can imagine, now if I just put a foam pad on that quickly. I'm just going to put a little bit of a foam pad because I want to put the card together properly later. There we are. So if I have this and my card blank, so obviously nothing is struck down, so it was going to look a bit crooked maybe. Okay, but that's the card I'm heading for when I've got everything stuck down. So I've got my foiling across the top, I've got my foiling in the middle, I've got my forward and die cut bird, and then I've got my little sentiment at the bottom that says it's your birthday. Okay, so I hope that's helped you see how you can avoid waste. It doesn't have to be when you're just foiling on a whole sheet of paper. It could be you're, you know, putting a sentiment on a piece of pattern paper. One of my others here, there's a plan that my sentiment would go on a piece of this and then be die cut. So I grab my sentiment that I've got here. Yeah, so I can decide where I want this, make sure I get it the right way up and all that. I think maybe I'm wanting it, yeah, just sort of there maybe. Get my magnet, and then it's going to be cut out with that die. So you can actually sort of get things where you want them. I'm going to foil it first and then die cut it because it's easier for taping this larger piece of paper down. Okay, but let's do that one and then cut it out and you'll see what I mean. So it's where I want it. Let me make sure I've got it straight. That's it. Okay. So same as before, down on the GoPress and foil, tape it in place, hold it down with the finger, pull, slide the magnet away, flip the paper, and I've got a piece of silver foil there that I've not used, so that will do for my sentiment. I think it's a bit big. I'm going to cut it down a bit. And quite often it's the corners that cause overfoiling, so I'm just going to snip those. Only a little sentiment, so it doesn't need long to warm up. Okay, I think that's nice and hot. So lid up, foil on, card down. Going to use my double shim. Close the lid. Flip it back, have a look at, see how it's foiled. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. I'm going to stand up though and have a look at the right angle, particularly at the bottom. Yep, that's fine. Okay, I can take that off. Now if I'm batch making, I can leave that on and do another one if I've got a piece of card the same size. Not batch making today though. As I do that kind of thing when I'm making my Christmas cards. Cut all my cards to the size I want to foil onto. There we are. There's my tape. I'm going to die cut that. Get it in the middle and straight. So whilst I'm using a bit of card a bit bigger than my die, I don't need to be using the whole sheet, and I don't have to be randomly hoping I get something vaguely in the right place. I just need to allow a little bit for taping it down at the edge. And there we are. Okay, so some of this is about getting things in the right place, and some of it's about, if the foiling hasn't quite taken, being able to put the card or paper back down with the foil in exactly the same place as it was before, so I can add an extra shim and roll again, so I haven't wasted the card and the foil. Let me just get this to focus. Ooh, that's coming very close. There we go. So you can see that's foiled beautifully. Okay, so that's great. Thank you for watching. It's been real time, so it's been probably near enough an hour. But I do like to show things in real time. And it's quicker when you're doing it without explaining what you're doing as you go along. Okay, thanks for your patience. Bye.